Co-founder of Moms for Liberty, to dive into the changes to Title IX and how they impact parental rights. Tiffany Justice, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
Wonderful to be here today. Thank you.
Now, following the Biden administration's changes to Title IX, Moms for Liberty actually released a letter on how it impacts parental rights. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've heard the issue about sports, biological boys playing in female sports a lot, right? But I want to talk about schools because I think it's really important for people to understand this rule was released through the Department of Education and is going to change everything that is happening with your child at that school, right? So impact to parental rights. Many of you have heard about the secret transitions happening at schools, social transitions, private, conversations between children and adults at a school where a child changes their pronouns, their name at school. This will now have the stamp of the federal government in our schools, which puts a divide between the parent and the child that's just unconscionable.
Now, in the letter released, you're urging governors to take action against the Biden administration. Now, many states have filed lawsuits here. What are you hoping will come out of this?
We're hoping for a couple things. We like to see the head of education in the state saying to the school districts, hold, please. You need to wait. First of all, this rule doesn't go into effect until August 1st. And second of all, we expect that this rule is going to be held up in court, and we don't expect to have to implement changes for the next school year. You're right. The response has been amazing. And this week, we sent that letter at the end of last week. This week, we've seen lawsuits from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Idaho, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, some of them combining together. And so it's just been great to see a really robust reaction by the states to this total overreach of the federal government.
Zooming in on the education part, you kind of touched on this earlier, how it's not just about sports in the locker room, but actually this new change makes gender identity a federally protected class, and it's also allowing school officials to be what are known as, quote, confidential reporters. It removes the parents from the conversation about children who are minors, right, and who are suffering from what they're calling gender identity struggles. Now, what is this doing to the family dynamic if parents are removed from that conversation?
Parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children. That's their education, their medical care, their morality, their religion. The fact that the school thinks that they may know better than a parent, if they feel like a parent might be unsupportive of a child's wish to change their gender, that they feel they can intercede, that they can, go between the parent and the child and somehow cut the parent out of the child's life when the child is experiencing extreme mental distress is shocking to us at Moms for Liberty. And we, again, called upon all of these governors and different leaders in the states to take a stand. We'd also like to see some of these states stop taking federal funding when possible, because the idea that the federal government is, saying we're going to take away lunch money if you don't follow our rules. Well, you can take your lunch money and shove it, federal government, because the truth is there are boys and there are girls and no child is born in the wrong body.
Given this whole gender identity thing that is being pushed and how life-changing a lot of these procedures would be, how do you read the overwhelming response so far, if you will, to your letter? How is this, in a way, a uniting issue?
I think it's a uniting issue for parents. Parents have this bond across racial lines, religious lines. We're all parents and we all believe that we have the right to direct the upbringing of our kids. So it is bringing people together. For American parents, we're watching as countries like Sweden and Finland and Denmark, they're taking a step back and they're saying, wait, this gender affirming care model that we've been using may not be what's best for kids. American parents just saw the CAS review, a new report that was released by a pediatrician from England that said gender affirming care carries with it a lot of risks for children. And so it's very odd to see the federal government pushing gender ideology in our schools at the same moment that you have a world that's waking up to the real harms of gender ideology. It's a clash like I don't think we've seen in maybe ever.
And when it comes to the response to your letter so far, what is next for Moms for Liberty when it comes to these changes to Title IX?
We're releasing a toolkit this week that's going to really give parents all of the answers that they want to try to find. This information is sometimes difficult to decipher, especially for parents that haven't been navigating the world of civil rights and education. So we're going to have a toolkit, and we're going to have things like a template to send to your school board to ask them what's happening right now in your school district regarding Title IX. Are there planned changes so that you can, allow for your family to get ready to deal with any issues that may arise. We'll also be looking to, be able to help and support in lawsuits around the country as needed.
Tiffany Justice, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.